there, everybody. Jim Masters here. It is time for some comedy and magic with our very special guest coming to us from the greater Los Angeles, California area. We're so excited to welcome the acclaimed Kerry Ross. He is here. He's on JMS. So we're so happy. He's going to be sharing lots of great comedy and magic and more. He is a brilliant comedian, magician, actor extraordinaire, makes his home on the West Coast in Hollywood, Tinseltown, just north of LA. We're excited to welcome him to the show. How's everybody doing? This is your host, Jim Masters. We're here on the East Coast in the New York area. I'm reporting for duty in the host chair, as I always say. That's where I'm seated right now. It is time for the Jim Masters Show, as it says back there. So I guess I have some work to do here. And we welcome you wherever you're watching around the world. We always have a good time on our show. We always like connecting with all of you. And Kerry is here to entertain and inspire, put some smiles on my face, and of course, yours. Hey, if you want to interact with us while we are here live, the show is live right now. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can comment in our Lovely Hall, JMS Lovely Hall chat room. Of course, we always encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe because that helps us grow and lets us know you're enjoying all the great episodes we have with these amazing celebrity friends and guests who come in from all different backgrounds and genres of entertainment and so much more of life in general. And it's really, really cool. And from around the world. Kerry is amazing. We're excited to have him here. He's going to do some special surprises for us too. That's right. You know, when Kerry was just 5 years old, his grandfather predicted that he'd become a comedian. And for more than 30 years, his unique blend of comedy and magic have been entertaining audiences throughout the world on land, sea, and television. A native of Los Angeles, California, he became interested in the art of magic through Boy Scouts of America Explorer Post 1313. That is very cool. Because I was in the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scouts in New York, and I was Pack 166. Somehow, that was elementary school all the way up. I still remember that. 166. I think I have to play that number in the lottery. He is a brilliant comedian, magician, and actor. That's right. He does it all. And he does a lot of corporate work as well for folks. You know, he goes into companies and he does all kinds of cool things with them as well. And we'll talk about those opportunities. But first, within a short time, you know, when he was in the Boy Scouts, he was selected to become one of the original 25 members of the prestigious Magic Castle Juniors, sponsored by the famed Magic Castle in Hollywood, California. That's right. And fresh out of college, Kerry got his professional start at a Southern California theme park performing straitjacket escapes for the summer season. That's right. He really did. You know, we verify everything that we say. There's the straitjacket. So, I mean, this is truth in advertising on the Jim Masters Show live series. But telling you a little bit more about our illustrious guest. He did that, you know, just to let you know how, you know, when you start in these industries, it takes a while to build the name, to get the recognition and the networking and all the rest, and have the star and the light shine on you. When he was in the straitjacket, he was getting $3.50 an hour. That is dedication to his craft. We are very excited again to have him here on the show, just telling you a little bit more so you know about our great guest. His hilarious blend of comedy antics and incredible magic have earned him many awards. Quite early in the career, he became the only magician ever to be named as the Comedy Act of the Year 2 years in a row by the Society of American Magicians in Los Angeles. Best known as the originator of the often-imitated. Was that a Freudian slip? Often intimidated. Excuse me, rewind, edit, often, not irritated either, often imitated comedy escape act. He's received numerous other awards for his creativity and originality in both the arts of comedy and magic. And by the time he was 25, he was traveling the world on cruise ships, had several network specials to his credit, and was the comedy guest star for HBO's World's Greatest Escapes. Do you remember seeing that on HBO? Very, very, very cool. I remember seeing it. It was really, really something very, very special and well received. As both an actor and award-winning comedy magician, Kerry has been seen on a wide variety of television shows and commercials. and network specials, long touted as a magician to the stars. Kerry, also a longtime technical consultant for CBS televisions. You may remember Circus of the Stars, a fabulous, fabulous broadcast. Since then, his cruise ship corporate and review show performances have literally taken him to almost 50 different countries, as well as television appearances seen globally. Through the years, Kerry has worked with many celebrities as well, including Jerry Seinfeld, Whoopi Goldberg, Miley Cyrus, will.i.am, David Letterman, Dick Clark, Tony Curtis, Emma Samms, Keenan Ivory Wayans, Lloyd Bridges, just to name a few, Wayne Rogers, Rick Schroeder, Roddy McDowell, Robert Urich, of course, Phyllis Diller. Can you imagine working with Phyllis Diller? Oh boy, that's somebody I do wish that I had an opportunity to meet. Wish I could have met Phyllis Diller, Rodney Dangerfield, Jackie Gleason. Got a long list of folks. Michelle Lee, Melissa Manchester, who's been a guest 3 times on the Jim Masters Show and is a dear friend of ours, and many, many others. He's really amazing, and we're going to have him on in just a second. First, we have something we want to show you. Again, he's going to do some really cool things for us. First, we want to show you this little clip, just a little clip showing him in action doing his thing. It's comedy and magic for all of you right now on the Jim Masters Show. Thanks for being with us. We love having you here. Let us know you're here, where you're watching from, what city, what state, what country. Interact with us. You can do it right now. Take a look at this clip, and we'll be back with our special guest, comedian, magician, actor extraordinaire, Kerry Ross on the Jim Masters Show.
Would you say the cards are really being mixed? Have been shuffled. Yeah. Give one more shuffle. Lower overhand up there. There's your card. Okay. Oh, you need proof? All right. All right, right there. There's your card. 3 clubs. Yes. Yes. No. Yes, it was. No. It wasn't for real. For real, it was not.
I don't. No.
For real, it was not. What was your card?
No, it is 2 of clubs, right? Or
Spades.
spades.
2 of spade, not 3 of clubs. 2 of spade. I was way off. Okay, I can do it. Don't stop. I'm gonna do it. There, it's done. It's done. Oh, not here. There.
Oh!
Oh,
That's my job. That's my fact. I'll tell you what. If I do this again, I can change it back for you. Yeah. Yes, 3.5 of clubs. Like that one right there. He said that 98% of the people in the world love magic. 98%, that's pretty good, right? Until you realize that the other 2% are married to magicians. Changes that whole equation, boy, let me tell you. Yeah. I'm going to take these off. I've already seen the act. I'm not seeing how to spell your name. Okay. And there it is.
Oh my God.
Nice and big. And for you folks back in the cheap seats, over! But you did win the lemon, and you know something? I'm so glad you did, because I've had for the longest time this bag of lemons waiting for someone to reach in and grab a good one. So hold your hand out, please. Cough? No, that's something else. I'm sorry. Watch carefully. We're going to twist. Watch on Mark. We're going to twist and break the pulp. And look, there's something in there. Would you pinch and grab, sir? And I'll get you some napkins. All right? And let everyone see that not only is it a 20, a soggy 20, but it also says Oma right on it! And ladies and gentlemen, that's magic.
Oh, there he is.
And here he is. That's what we call a real fade to black, huh?
Yeah.
Kerry Ross is in the house, coming to us from just north of Hollywood and Los Angeles.
Where it's 91 degrees today.
It was 91 degrees?
Yeah, right now, yeah.
So it was 91 degrees. And how did you cope with that?
I stayed indoors.
Yeah. Simple as that, right?
Simple as that.
See, everybody wants to know what's behind that black curtain or that black wall. This is kind of like, let's make a deal. What's behind the curtain, Mr. Ross?
Well, this is actually my office and studio both. So
that's what they all say.
Oh, yeah, quite. No, actually, yes, Boris Karloff is behind me. Is being that I rehearse also there, it's mirrors behind, so I can rehearse routines. And then when the curtains are closed, I can do, as I was telling you about, as an actor, we have to do self-tape submissions for a lot of roles and such now. So you video it yourself. So we use the curtain as the backdrop.
Mirrors and curtains. I wonder, are there any pillows involved too, or
no? Just well, the only mirror up above that I have is over the kitchen table. I get a little too excited with food.
You like to watch yourself eating the cereal in the morning, or is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, all the time when you have these sort of split screen conversations, and you've seen it, and it really got ramped up more during the pandemic. I whisper it because YouTube goes crazy when you say it. And whenever you see like a bookshelf or something behind people, you're always, and they got 10 million books behind them. You wonder, did they just set that up for the shot, or did they actually read?
No, I've actually got a bookcase there. I've got a bookcase.
So have you actually read everything that's on those shelves?
No. I've colored in a lot of them. But, I've got books, a lot of magic books, a lot of books on comedy, a lot of acting books, and of course, looking at the Milton Berle joke files right now, and books on. I've got a lot of stuff on Groucho and Buster
Well, the Milton Berle joke files, they're actually the Jack Benny, George Burns, all the others. Wasn't he known to lift everybody else's material?
Yeah, it's pretty thick too.
That is thick.
He was known as the thief of bad gags.
Right.
I've actually met him. I had met him.
Uncle Milty. Did you really?
Meet Uncle Milty, and he signed a book that he had written in, I think it was 1926 or something like that, that I have here in my collection. And
that's quite. Who are some of the folks? I talked about you grew up, in California.
Yeah.
So Tinseltown, Hollywood, right there, and we grew up, with the backdrop of New York, right. We grew up in the suburbs, but New York City was right there. So we had access to all this culture and arts and theater and television and everything in New York. You had this access to LA and Hollywood and all. How did that influence you? And who were some of the folks as you were sort of, well, even back when you were a teenager, that inspired you? I mentioned these names, Phyllis Diller and other folks you've had an opportunity to work with. Who were some of the folks that inspired you to want to dive into comedy, magic, acting, all of it?
I'd say originally it was the ones that I saw on TV. Dick Van Dyke had a huge influence on me. And I had a chance to meet him. Excuse me. Carol Burnett, who I also had some fun with.
Gets you all choked up talking about the legend.
Yeah, excuse me. Grab some water here.
It gets right to your heart, Dick Van Dyke.
There we go.
I haven't yet to meet Dick Van Dyke. He's on my list, and I was really close to this close to meeting him to interview him for a PBS special, actually, but then it got sort of flipped upside down because Disney needed to pull him away because it was his 90th and they were having a big celebration. But Carol Burnett, I have had chats with and have met. These people you're mentioning, the Dick Van Dykes, the Carol Burnett's, some of the most authentic, real, sweet, no airs about them.
Definitely.
Funny, real people. And again, having had an opportunity like you have to chat with them, it's quite an honor, isn't it?
Well, definitely. As a matter of fact, I kidded Carol about the fact I went to her rival school. So when I first met her, the first thing I said is, before anything else, I apologize. I went to Fairfax. And she said, so it's okay. But she's a very lovely lady. Some of the people, after I did the HBO special, the producers of the HBO special happened to be doing another special with Red Skelton as the host. And I was invited backstage. I think I sent you the photo, actually. I got to meet one of my absolute idols and have a photo with him, Red Skelton, who I grew up watching on TV, and who something that he said a long time ago kind of became a little bit of a mantra with me. Supposedly his mother, when he was about 12 years old, shortly before he decided to try and run off and join the circus, she told him, Junior, you might as well enjoy life. You're not going to get out of it alive anyhow. And so
that's so true, right?
Yeah, you got to enjoy it. You got to enjoy it while we're here. And we are but specks of sand on a very large beach that's washing in and out.
These are a couple of names that, it's a generational thing, I guess, but Sid Caesar, Ernie Kovacs, those kinds of names, did they influence you as well?
I did not get to see anything about Sid Caesar that I knew of until I was in my teens, and someone told me about Sid Caesar's Show of Shows, and they did a film called 10 from Your Show of Shows. And I went to see it with a friend and just fell in love with the humor of Sid Caesar and Carl Reiner, who I've actually had dinner with, Carl Reiner and Mel Brooks and Imogene Coca. Oh my gosh, that woman was amazing to watch. And any of our viewers would probably know her from National Lampoon Vacation as the crazy aunt.
Sure. And your Show of Shows. And, Carl Reiner, of course, creator of so many incredible things. I loved his line where he said, he would wake up every morning and go to the breakfast table and he would read the obituaries. And if he wasn't in the obituaries, he'd have breakfast.
Red Skelton actually said that with a slight twist. He said first thing he did is he thumbed his way through Playboy to get his heart started. Then he looked through the obituary column. But so a lot of
everybody's visualizing that now.
I'm sorry?
Everybody's visualizing that now.
Jerry Lewis had a big influence on me as well.
Jerry Lewis, yeah.
Definitely so. It was that's the silly side. Yeah, definitely. Laurel and Hardy. Yeah.
So you started out in the Boy Scouts, going back a little bit in time, and sort of got recognized there in a way. How you got into magic through Boy Scouts and then being one of the Castle Juniors. That's really cool.
Well, the first thing, let me explain, this was the only Explorer Post, Boy Scout Explorer Post in the world at the time that did magic. And you would go up in ranks, but instead of a merit badge, you would get a different item of magic. You'd be tested on magic. We were sponsored by the Society of American Magicians International Hall of Fame and Magic Museum. So we had to learn everything about the history of magic, which most people in this business don't know enough about the history. But went through that program, and you started off as a sorcerer's apprentice. You worked your way gradually up to be a magician, hopefully before you graduate from the program. And the Magic Castle Juniors started just about that same time. And if anyone's familiar with the Magic Castle, it is the mecca for magic from around the world. It's in Hollywood, California. It's that old, more than 100-year-old Victorian building just north of Grauman's Chinese Theater. And it is the worldwide mecca for magic. It houses the Academy of Magical Arts. And they started this group of juniors to try and groom the next generation of magicians. And most of the original 25 went into it full time. And that was all one head of hair ago for me.
One head of hair. You know, actually, that's not easy to say fast the way you said that. One head of hair ago for me.
Well, if I'd known the show was going to be this good, I would have worn mine.
You would have worn the taupe,
yeah.
As they say. But then again, being in that area, you got a chance to meet a lot of people that inspired you, like you were saying, right? Which was really kind of cool. And I think people recognized, were you always going around the house funny? Were you always the funny kid in the house, the funny kid in class? Or did that, and the curiosity, obviously, to appreciate magic, did that develop over time? Like for me, I've always had this quick wit kind of thing, which I absolutely attribute to my dad, Irish and from New York, and quick and funny and observational humor about, somebody could be in a supermarket walking past you and there could be a whole routine just on what you're seeing in front of you.
Yeah.
And I love that kind of humor. How about you growing up? Were you a funny kid?
Well, like you said, when I was like 5, my grandfather predicted I'd be a comedian. I was a clown as a little kid. And then I got myself into school and became the unsuccessful class clown. In other words, the one that always got caught trying to pull the prank. So that kind of subdued it for a while. And I think magic helped me. I always had this love of comedy and watch. As a matter of fact, as a kid, I would sneak back out of the bedroom after my folks had gone to sleep, and I would turn on the Johnny Carson show and watch the monologue. And I used to record them actually on cassette when there was no before home video. And it wasn't until I really got into magic that I started coming out of my shell, and magic was the vehicle. And then magic became, and has been for years, the vehicle for a lot of my comedy. But I should point out that I got a lot of my sense of humor from my mother's father, my grandfather, and from my father. Growing up, my father, when my brother and I were real little, he would cut our hair. So we'd go into the bathroom, he'd set us up on a little step stool, and we'd be facing away from the mirror. And as long as we were facing away from the mirror and he was standing behind us, we were getting our hair cut by Mickey Mouse and Goofy and Donald Duck and Bugs Bunny. He would do all these voices and such. And that's where I really got a love for voices and sound effects.
Do you like to do a lot of those?
I did. Unfortunately, I can't do voice work right now. I kind of blew out my throat a while back.
Did
but
you?
I actually did my share of voice acting. Yeah. And I love doing sound effects and cartoon characters, so forth. Yeah.
That is fantastic. So, when you take a look at all the amazing things, I love the fact that you had an opportunity to actually work on Circus of the Stars, which is an iconic thing on CBS that people just really, that was extraordinary. How did you have that opportunity to work on that?
Well, it started as a one-time thing and stretched out to 12 years.
That's unbelievable.
The producers saw me performing my comedy escape act at a magic convention and came up to me afterwards, found me and said, would you be interested in ever training stars to do some of this? They had a particular situation that year where they had an escape planned, and it was a serious escape planned for a star to do, but the person that they had scheduled to do it, all I'll say is if the star had performed it the way that he had designed it, she could have been badly burned or killed. So I came in, I saw what it was all about. I kind of redesigned the whole idea of this, made it much more of a true escape for Michelle Lee. That was my very first thing. Yep. And I had the fun of tying her up over and over, spread eagle on this thing.
And that was not an episode of Knots Landing either.
No, but I did go to a few of those later on to visit. But she was tied down, spread eagle, to this large X. We had 100 feet of fire coming at her, and she had 15 seconds to basically untie herself and escape. And it was so close that, and the host of the show, Lloyd Bridges, who I also worked with on another project, Lloyd was the MC of that segment, and he had no idea that she was that good an actress, because she got out just at the absolute last moment, and he didn't think she was going to get out, and he dove in to save her. He really was. He really did. He dove in to save her and almost caught his tuxedo pant leg on fire.
Wow.
So, yeah, as a matter of fact, in the show, they say, and Lloyd's okay too, So,
yeah.
Michelle Lee, by the way, interesting fact, one of the reasons she was fascinated with doing this, her uncle had been one of Houdini's assistants. I don't know his name.
I didn't know. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then, as I said, it went on to, I did another project with them that same year. I worked with, put together a comedy magic routine for Wayne Rogers to do on the show. And that was a lot of fun. We maintained, the nice thing is, if they were good people, you wound up maintaining a friendship.
Right.
And long after the show. And that was one of the nice things. And so it went on over a 12-year period, doing it with a lot of different celebs and just wonderful people. Very few of them, actually, I won't say a name, but only one of them was one I would rather not work with again after over all those years. Yeah.
Oh, that one, huh?
Yeah, that one. I'll tell you off the air.
Yeah, I was going to say. It'll be in the book. That's so, comedian, magician, actor. How have you been able to sort of be all of them, balance all of them, and focus? And what really comes to you first? Are you the magician who is also comedic? Are you the actor who also does comedy and magic? Are you the comedian who also does acting and magic? What comes to your heart and soul first, Kerry?
Most definitely, I'm a comedian that uses magic as the vehicle, and the training as an actor helps me to do that. And then I originally was interested in acting more so for the magic and the comedy, but later on, I wound up working on a lot of TV shows as an actor. And
tell us about the names of the shows that people would love to hear.
Oh my gosh, those were all 2 heads a hair ago. Not true. But I've also done a lot of commercials and so forth that they may or may not know. But I did shows in the years of like Chips, Foul Play, which was a spinoff of the movie. I did a little bit part in the movie Nope a few years back. What else? I can't even think of some of them now, but
lots of them, so many, right?
Did a bunch of them. They're usually just little bit parts. Yeah.
Now, you wanted a straitjacket for your 16th birthday. One of the things that I got, and I think it was 16, I didn't ask for a straitjacket. I asked for a Charlie McCarthy ventriloquist doll, which was, I think, it wasn't the birthday, it was Christmas. It was in the back of the Sears Wish book. And I got it. But you wanted a straitjacket.
Well, before we go into that, I'll tell you.
I love ventriloquism too. And I miss it. You don't see a lot of it.
I did 2 commercials as a vent.
As an event. I like that.
Yeah. And do you know who taught me? Sherry Lewis.
Oh my God. Lamb chop. And really.
And I had the chance to meet Edgar Bergen.
Edgar Bergen.
Speaking of Charlie McCarthy, yeah.
Charlie McCarthy, Edgar Bergen, his daughter Candace Bergen, for those watching, Murphy Brown and all.
Yep.
I met Candace, but I didn't meet, of course, Edgar, but had the Charlie McCarthy doll. And the unfortunate thing is we were going up to New England for one of the holidays to visit my mother's side of the family. Big family. My mother's youngest of 16, so it's a huge family. So we went up for the holiday, and everything was great. The Charlie McCarthy doll was under the tree at our aunt and uncle's house at that time. Got the Charlie McCarthy doll, loved it. I was using it all the time. And then we're in the back seat of the car, the beautiful Chevrolet Impala, and Dad's driving and Mom's in the front seat. We're in the back, the kids, and my sister and I were playing with the doll, blah, 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 blah. And she pulls, it had where you put your hand. Are we telling secrets? You put your hand up the back of his sport coat, his checkered tweed sport coat, and you pulled the string, and that's what moved the mouth. Well, she wanted to try it. God bless her, love her. It was just a momentary bit of rage, but it went away quick. She pulled the string too hard and busted the mouth. So the mouth was stuck. Now, when you have a ventriloquist doll when the mouth is busted, it's pretty much dead.
Yeah, all he could ever do is go, Yeah, that's about it.
Just
right?
like Home Alone reactions. But I love ventriloquism. I always have. And there's been so many great people. But you wanted the straitjacket for your 16th
yes, back
birthday,
to that.
huh?
So, okay, I'd gotten into magic pretty much the year before. Most kids get into it when they're maybe 7 or 8, and all of a sudden around 14, 15 years old, in comes girls, cars, and sports, and the magic gets put in the drawer. I didn't get into magic till I was 15, although I used to watch it on TV and so forth. And I've got a fun story about that later. But for my 16th birthday, I was already part of this Explorer post, and there was a fellow there who did a teenager who did a straitjacket escape, and it was very, very serious. And I kind of said, there could be something funny with this. And so I asked my folks, I didn't ask them for a car for my 16th birthday. No, I mean, what did I do? I asked them, I said, I really want a straitjacket. So we tried everything. He had me make some phone calls to various medical supply houses and such.
Well, what was their reaction when you asked for the straitjacket?
They usually went something like this. Hi, yeah, I'd like to know if I could possibly buy a straitjacket. And hello?
But what was the parents' reaction when you told them I want a straitjacket?
Oh, my parents' reaction.
Did they say we figured?
My stepmother wasn't so crazy about the concept. My father said, well, if this is the direction my crazy son is going. But so I went, it took a while to finally be able to get my first straitjacket. And I do say my first straitjacket. You're talking to a guy who owns 6 straitjackets and 2 guillotines. And I consider myself to be the sanest person I know. So
if you're just tuning in, folks, this is our tribute to the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Little dabble do.
Next, we're going to be talking about lobotomies. Jack Nicholson is our next guest.
Well, what was the line? Never mind. I won't go there. No. So anyway, so I got the straitjacket, and at 16, and I started working on this idea of creating a comedy straitjacket escape. And it turns out that it had never been really done. We've since done a lot of research on it, and a few people have authenticated the fact that I created the idea of doing the straitjacket escape as a comedy piece. And it's been pinched by so many people that I don't even do it anymore. But I literally did my straitjacket escape for 40 years. And when you get to the point you realize that your chiropractor is making more money from the acting you're making, it's time to kind of rethink what you do. So I stopped. So now my goal is that the worst injury I get is possibly a paper cut from a deck of playing cards.
I usually get one when I write out the utility bill. Because you're really big number. The numbers have gotten larger in the last couple of years.
Oh,
Lot more zeros being added to
yes.
the price of bread, lettuce, and everything.
Well, I had a friend that wanted to buy a pillow and found that even the price of down is up. Sorry, very old joke.
No, I like that. That's Hey, as I mentioned, you've had an opportunity to meet a lot of cool people over the years as you've been developing your craft as a, renowned comedian, magician, and actor. Look at this shot here. There it is. It's the one you're talking about.
Yeah,
Red Skelton.
Oh, man. Just an incredible performer.
Who was more excited, him or you or both? Because he looks pretty happy too.
Definitely me.
Yeah.
I think the producer did tell him that I just done an HBO special for the producer. So
oh, you did? He did.
He gave me, that was after I'd done the HBOs. By the way,
that's great.
When I'll tell you how far back that was, they were calling it home box office.
Remember? Yes.
Yeah.
And at some times, I think in the beginning of the evening, it was a scrambled signal. And it would only unscramble once you subscribed. Remember, to those pay channels on your cable box, which was a big box that you had on top of the television, which was usually furniture. And you'd have to press the button for the ones you wanted. This is the CNN, or this is that. And home box office is what it was called. Right, exactly. And it was, the picture would be scrambled unless you paid for it.
Well, and it was kind of interesting because not
that I was there for that. I think I read about it. Yeah.
When I first got asked about it, I didn't know what home box office was, to be honest. It was pretty new. And I found out later that the producer had originally asked the star of the show, the world's greatest escape artist, Steve Baker, who had befriended me a few years before that. They came to him to ask him about using a particular performer doing a comedy escape act. And Steve was nice enough to say, well, why don't you use the guy, Kerry Ross, the guy who originated it, rather than one of the guys that ripped him off. And so the producers invited me to come in, audition it for them. They liked it. And the funny thing is, I'm going to date myself here. I tried that better for girls.
It's too late now. You said home box office.
Yeah, I know.
So that was a giveaway.
It started airing in 1980. Okay. And
the year CNN was launched.
What's that?
The year CNN was launched, 1980.
It was so it aired in the U.S. for a couple of years initially, and then it aired in, I don't know if it was Thames Broadcasting or BBC, but it did air on one of those two. And what happened was, so many magicians watched it and saw this wonderful idea of doing the straitjacket escape as a comedy piece that everyone started pinching it in the US and then in the UK. So I continued to do it for many, many years, but I had a lot of other people doing bits and pieces or line per line. So
that's amazing. But I mean, to have done it so long, which is incredible, truly. You have had, I mentioned, of course, Red Skelton, a legend, but you've met so many icons over the years. There's the wonderful Ed Asner, who we just lost not that long ago. Mary Tyler Moore Show, Mr. Grant and Lou Grant, and so many other things. I mean, he had a good long life, a brilliant actor. What was it like meeting Ed Asner?
Very, very nice. We were actually at a voice actors convention that a friend of mine produced and that I was involved with. And Ed was a guest speaker at it and actually was demonstrating some technique for all these international pro voice actors. And then I wound up on the phone with him about a year or so later. He actually called me up trying to reach another actor friend of mine. I don't know if you remember the name Larry Gelman.
Sure. Yes. Of
Larry
course.
was a dear friend that I first met on an audition, and I introduced him to uh, a group that we both that I belonged to, and then he joined, called Yarmy's Army, which I'll tell you about that. But I get this call from Ed trying to get in touch with Larry, and we wound up just having this wonderful, wonderful chat. And I think that was about 6 months before he passed, actually. No, maybe a little longer. But I should tell you real fast about this group, Yarmy's Army.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yarmy's Army was a group of show business veterans. We literally just somewhat folded recently because not too many of the guys are ambulatory anymore. But it started as a group of friends of Dick Yarmy, who was Don Adams' brother. And Dick Yarmy, when they found that he had cancer, his buddies all wanted to make sure that he was constantly kept feeling up and laughing and so forth. So they started a group called Yarmy's Army to keep him feeling good and get him to his appointments and all that. And these were people, oh my gosh, Don Knotts, Don Adams, Jonathan Winters, Pat McCormick, Chuck McCann, who's the one who brought me into the group. And then I was sitting around since, 2006, I think it was, I've been a member, and sitting around with all of the guys that were still alive. Jack Riley and Pat Harrington Jr., who we just really hit it off. Gary Owens. Should I tell you my
Gary Owens laughing?
Should I tell you Gary Owens' favorite joke, according to him?
Yeah, according to him, that he told me over and over and over. What goes clip clop, clip clop, clip clop, bang, clip clop, clip clop? Good question.
An Amish drive-by shooting. We're not going to offend Amish because I don't think they're going to be watching this on computer right now. So. By the way, that's something that Mel Brooks said, that political correctness has ruined comedy. And
I've had these conversations with other comedians and comedians. Do you think a Don Rickles would exist today?
By his own comments shortly before his passing, probably not. And Mel Brooks said he'd never be able to make any of his films today because of what's happened. I've actually been told on a few projects that they really didn't want me to even say "ladies and gentlemen" to an audience.
Really? What did they want you to say instead?
I don't know. I came up with Homo sapiens of all types. What are you going to do? Yeah, I mean, and
he, her, I, them, it, thou. Blah, 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 blah.
It could go on and on and on. And
good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Period. End of discussion. Done. You know what I mean? With all the earthquakes, tornadoes, fires, floods, inflation, pandemics, and everything else going on in this planet, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, still works.
Thank you.
Period. Done. High five on that, Kerry. High five on that.
My job is to take people away from their problems for a little while, okay? Have some fun, whether it's at a place like the Magic Castle or on a cruise ship, which I did for years, or the corporate shows that I do, or a trade show, or whatever it is. My job is to help take people away from their worries for a little while and let them have some fun, get some laughs, show them something amazing and so forth. And when you start putting restrictions on it, especially ones that I feel are unnecessary in many cases. I don't swear. By the way, I'm obviously not 20 years old. I've been around for a little while. Been doing this for 40 years for a living now. And
so you're a seasoned, accomplished veteran.
And I do not swear on stage or off, have never had a reason to.
But if you could only heard what he was saying in the green room when we were getting ready to go on the air, folks, he got it all out of his system before he went before we went live.
Not
He
quite,
got it
but-
all out of his system before he went live. No,
Well,
kidding.
what's interesting is being, especially going to meetings like Yarmy's Army, those were definitely stag dinners that we would have. And I would listen to some hilarious jokes. I find a lot of them very, very funny. I don't mind hearing a good joke that has some language in it, but I just know that I either need to reword it or not tell it for my own justification. I got my start going through college. I actually got my start doing kid shows and so forth, and then started working amusement parks, and then started getting, as I got involved with corporate and so on. So all those markets, you got to stay clean anyways. And then as a dad, I wanted to stay clean. I didn't want my kids influenced by that.
Aren't you glad you used dial? I've done that before. I don't know. These things just come to me. I'm a conduit of the energy like you are. I've been in a very crowded, sort of warm elevator. And for some reason, I don't know what compels me. I take no responsibility for the humor that comes out. But everybody has a sour face. They all look, oh, what a rough day. And I'll just say, aren't you glad you used dial? Because we're all on top of each other in a sweaty elevator. And then all of a sudden, they remember the commercial and the jingle, and they start laughing. And now smiles, from drudgery to smiles, in just a split second by saying that. And sometimes I do rehearse. Should I say the line or should I not? I'll give you an example. I host an MC, an annual, it's quite an honor. It's a beautiful Christmas concert event at Carnegie Hall in New York. And I do it with Tim Janis, who is a brilliant composer and musician. And he's done about 10 PBS specials. And I've interviewed him on the specials, and we've become great friends. And he brings in all these great singers and performers and full orchestra and choir, and it's a really beautiful holiday event. So one of the years as the MC, and you'll appreciate this, one of the years as the MC. Now, Carnegie Hall is very, very structured, and it's Carnegie Hall. So even behind the walls, behind the big white door, behind the scenes, the crew are utmost of professionals. They have everything down to the last second. So I'm in a tuxedo. I'm the MC. I wrote all the intros for all the celebrity guests, and I did the open and did everything. So we're about 50% into the Christmas holiday concert at Carnegie Hall. And I was dying to say this line that just came to me at a split second. And what it was looking for something that was the antithesis of what was happening, but in a humorous, warm, fun way. So you've got a beautiful orchestra, the children's choir. Everybody is in the seats at Carnegie Hall in the balcony here in New York City. Now, coming from the New York tri-state area, I can read a New York audience and whether or not they'd be responsive to it and get the joke, understand it, and just roll with it. So, but I said, but we are at Carnegie Hall. So I said, I don't know. We're halfway in. They're having a wonderful time. There's still half more of performance and music and great holiday cheer happening. So every time I would come out to go on stage to introduce the next performer, as the orchestra was, the violinists were ready to go. They're all sort of waiting in pause until that person comes out. It's very structured. So I'm waiting behind the big white door. The performers are too, and we're all chit-chatting and laughing and catching up with one another. But when that door opens, everybody stands up straight, and I come out the door, and then the door closes behind me. I go up to the podium, And I said, you know what, to myself, I'm going to say this line, what the heck? At Carnegie Hall at Christmas time in New York, in the tuxedo, they expected, they expected the MC to say the introduction for whoever was coming up next in the program, which I did. But first, I came up to the podium, paused, looked around at everybody, smiling, looked up at the balcony. And here they are, all dressed to the nines at Carnegie Hall in New York City at a beautiful, wonderful holiday concert. And I'm in the tuxedo, getting ready to introduce the next person. And I said, aren't you glad you decided not to go bowling tonight? And they just completely erupted in laughter and clapping and cheers. And I went, then of course, I introduced the next guest or the next performer. And then I do the about face and I go back towards the big white doors, which open up. You go in, you go behind the doors, and then the door closes. Well, the door opens up, the performer comes out, and then the door closes, and I'm back there. The crew there at the hall, who, the faces are like this because they're really all in, focused at what they have to do. They were high-fiving me. They were like, oh my God, we've never heard that before here at Carnegie Hall. That was incredible. It was just one of those times where I said, I'm going to do it. And it worked out great. Everybody loved it. The crew, the people, everybody involved in the production. It was just great. Sometimes you have to you got to read the audience, and that because this is what you do. You got to read the audience.
You got to know the audience.
Time it right. I wasn't going to do that in the beginning, and I wasn't going to do it at the end. Right in the middle, where they're feeling good, they're excited. It's holidays. It's a New York audience. And they got it, and it was. Aren't you glad you didn't go bowling tonight instead of Carnegie Hall?
One of my mentors would put it very well when all of a sudden he'd say a line, whether he's trying a new line or if it was the whole show, and everything just clicked beautifully. He had a great thing. He would say, he'd say, "How did it go?" or "How did the new line go?" Whatever. He would just say, "The moon was right."
I like that. The moon was right. Yeah.
Now, by the way, that particular mentor, I had three real mentors. One of them claimed that they're all gone now. One of them claimed that he was my mentor and I was his tormentor. But one of them his name was Mike Caldwell. He was a 350-pound comedian and magician and actor. I just watched him the other day on an old Adam 12. And he opened his act by walking out on stage very nervously as he's trying to talk to the audience, say, have you ever had one of those days? Have you ever had one of those days like, and he would let up this horrendous yell. He would throw his arm, do a completely flip his body. His head would clear the floor and he'd land, boom, straight on the stage on his back.
At 300 pounds,
350 pounds.
Wow.
And then people thought he died. And then he'd slowly grab the mic, work his way back up, get to the mic and say, and that's how my whole day's been going. That was the opening of his act. Brilliant guy.
The Richter scales must have went crazy. Breaking news, earthquake in such and such city. That is something.
He did break some risers through the years. Yeah, he really did. Yeah.
Like I said, you've met so many fabulous people, Kerry. Tony Curtis.
Worked with him 3 times. He actually came up on stage one night at the Magic Castle when I was doing the Escape Act, and came up, and he was one of the 2 guys tying me up in the straitjacket. Came up he was up there for his birthday, and I was emceeing the show on stage and doing my spot. And so we sang happy birthday to him.
That's great.
At the top of the show. And then when it was time, I asked for volunteers, and he volunteered.
You've been tied up by Tony Curtis.
I'll tell you a funny story about that.
Was Debbie Reynolds aware of that? No.
I had just debuted wearing this rug in my act. That week, I debuted wearing this rug that in the middle of the escape came flying off accidentally, which worked very well, by the way. But it hadn't been trimmed down right yet. It looked more like a fuzzy football helmet, right? So now I'm on stage. He's up on stage right behind me, and I can feel him as they're tying up the straps and back. I can feel him sensing this hairpiece, and I was so tempted just to turn and say, "You mention mine, and I'll mention yours."
I did say once to a colleague who's a longtime dear friend, a producer, we were working on a project, and I had just, even like now, I go back and forth, I get bored, and it depends on what projects I'm working on at the time. I have a little bit of some 5 o'clock shadow, facial hair, whatever. So she hadn't seen it yet, and she came up to me and she goes, "What is that?" Not hi, how are you? How have you been? Thank you for making the connection to make sure I was hired and paid to be on this project, that you were the one who connected me with this production team to get me the gig, to be paid nicely to be a producer on this project. None of that. It was more like, what's this? And this is probably 7 years ago. And I said, "What do you mean?" And then we had this kind of relationship where we could say this. "What do you mean? What's this? What? Well, what's this? What's this on your face?" I said, "Well," she says, "Well, what is it?" And I said, "What do you mean? What is it?" It's like a 5 o'clock shadow, just a little bit of a different look. It's nothing. She was used to always, clean cut, nothing ever on the face at all is what she had seen. So this was a different look, and it actually was apropos for whatever the project was, it was actually a TV special. And I just happened to say, like you said, you had it in your mind. I said, because she kept going on about it, and it was like getting in the way of what we had to do. And she kept saying, what are you doing? What are you trying to do? And I'm like, what am I trying to do? Hey, it's good to see you as well. By the way, this looks far better on me than it would on you. That she rolled her eyes, took a minute, laughed, and got the joke. Sometimes,
It's interesting because for years, I always stayed between the cruise ships and corporate work. I always stayed clean shaven, no hair on the face whatsoever, just a really good, clean corporate look. And for years, that's what they wanted. And same thing with the cruise ships. And then as things have changed through the years, I mean, even Disney allows some facial hair now and so forth at the parks. But finally, this was my post-pandemic beard, like so many others, the mandatory post-pandemic beard. What do you say?
Everybody did that during the pandemic. I even grew my hair. I always wanted to do it. Never had the opportunity because of my work in TV and radio, and just was never. I never had a long enough stretch to do it where it didn't call for the shorter hair, And then this pandemic comes along, where everybody's sort of doing their own thing. I grew the hair down to here. And it was
sure,
cool.
Make me feel jealous.
I was going to it was like a Greek god kind of thing. And our viewers know, because our viewers followed that transition. It's kind of cool. I always wanted to do it. And if you look back at some of the earlier episodes of the Jim Masters show, you'll see that. And some of the guests that were coming on were doing the same thing. They're like, the salons, the barbershops, everything is closed. So I can't get the haircut. I wanted to do it, but some of them couldn't get the haircut. And it was cool. And then gradually it started coming back up. And then there was a couple of the viewers, they're like, your stylist is rooting your hair and everything. I'm like, no, I'm telling the stylist to let's, have some serious projects to do. We're going to bring it back to as it was. But it was something that I got to change. What's one thing, in addition to this, that you got to do during that time period that you always wanted to do and were able to do then?
Oh my gosh. Well, did a lot of comedy writing, and First, had a chance to practice a lot of new card tricks. That's for sure. The one problem is you don't have an audience to really practice them on, because I did not. It became a popular thing to do Zoom shows during that time. Magicians were
Everybody
doing
was doing everything right.
Zoom shows, and I don't. I will not normally perform a Zoom style show, because being a comedian, you need that bounce back from the audience, and you can't get that through a computer screen.
No, no.
And that's one of the things that you sacrifice as an actor, unless you have a live audience. I mean, the perfect thing for me, if as I'm kind of getting back into the acting flow again now after taking time off from it, is the ideal thing would be the 3-camera shoot with a live audience, obviously, because you have the best of both. You're playing to the camera, but you're getting that bounce back from an audience, and you didn't have that during the pandemic with Zoom shows. So I always turned them down. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very hard to do that for a lot of people, and you had all these people coming out of the woodwork now doing it, and everybody's a host, and everybody's a this, and everybody's a that, and we've been going along doing it. And would you believe we've done over 1,100 shows in just 4 years?
Wow. That's amazing.
1,100 episodes of this series with all these fabulous people. I tell you, even for me, it was just something I was doing on the side. It was a pandemic project. It was started with just me talking to camera. There were no guests. It was just me talking to camera. Hey, everybody, we're here, and let's talk about celebrity birthdays and what's going on with you. And here's what I did today. And then people wanted to come on the show, who I interviewed on PBS or elsewhere. And it just blossomed from there. And everybody tells each other, like, of course,
That's
our dear
amazing.
friend, our fabulous dear friend, Chris Corman, who we love, son of Harvey Corman, who's been a guest, Chris, multiple times on our show as well. You've had an opportunity to do so many incredible things. And you mentioned Michelle Lee. Did you say spread eagle or something? In that case?
She was actually being tied spread eagle, and I had to tie her up over and over and over.
Now, I would imagine you probably showed her how to do that just from experience yourself.
Well, oh my gosh! You found that was my dear friend John Regis.
Yes.
Wow. We just lost him.
I know.
This last year.
Yeah. That's incredible to be able to do that, huh?
Yeah.
Jeez.
He was a comedian and a heck of a singer too. And in that, he looked more like, here's a name from the past. He looked like Mitch Miller.
Absolutely. The bouncing ball.
And he never saw that.
Bells, jingle
he never recognized that. When Circus of the Stars first approached me, and I came in and redesigned the thing, they said, okay, if you can perform it twice without being injured or killed, then you can teach it to Michelle. So I went out to their training facility in the San Fernando Valley, and we set it up and had the pyrotechnician, the whole thing. And I performed it twice without being injured or killed, with 15 feet of fire racing at me. Excuse me, it was 15 feet. 15 seconds, it was 100 feet of fire in 15 seconds on this giant, basically doused wick that's coming towards. And the whole thing that I'm tied to is doused as well. So you had to get out of there before the whole thing goes up in flames. And I performed it twice. Yeah. And then taught it to her.
I've never had the pleasure of working with a doused wick.
Yeah, well,
even in college, I never had the pleasure of working with a doused wick.
Well, yeah, you try. I'm not gonna say. We'd get thrown off of computer.
Hey, it's comedy. We're having fun, right? The world needs to laugh. The world needs to lighten up. Lighten up.
You know,
knock it all off and lighten up. Come on, folks.
I told my that I said, if I ever have a tombstone, if I ever have a marker, I wanted to say I died happy because I helped to make people laugh. Because there are too many people who don't want to help others laugh or can't laugh themselves. And that's kind of a sad thing. Oh, by the way, got to tell you, we were talking about Yarmy's Army before. I'm going to transgress here.
Yes. And there's magic coming up, folks, too. He's going to do
I'll
something.
do something. But I was talking about Yarmy's Army and this wonderful group. One of the fellows I met through there, and we've since become very, very close friends. He might even be watching.
Of course he's watching.
He's the last, I hope so. He is the last surviving cast member of Car 54, Where Are You?
Car 54, Where Are You?
Also the assassin, the mailman assassin in 3 Days of the Condor.
Wow.
His name is Hank Garrett, and you should really have him on.
He's been on our show.
Has Hank been on?
What a nice guy, sweetheart of a guy. What stories he can tell.
Oh,
Hank
my
Garrett.
gosh.
Yes, he was on the show, gang. If you didn't see that episode, scroll back on our YouTube
and buy his book.
Buy the book. His new book was out. His stories are absolutely amazing, and he's had an interesting, trajectory in his career too. Nothing comes easy, and you have to work hard, and you got to be tenacious and persistent.
As he said, Sammy Davis saved his life, got him out of
Sammy Davis.
He was in a very tough situation when he was packing a gun when he was 12 years old in Harlem.
That's right.
He was a white Jewish guy in Harlem.
Right. He came from a very interesting background. Exactly. Yeah. He shared all that. Look at this. And you mentioned one of our beloved mutual folks that we've always revered and admired. Here's his brother, who is no longer with us, but was another fabulous actor and very funny, Jerry Van Dyke.
Yeah. I opened for him Long Beach Arena.
Did you really?
Yeah. He was what a character. What a character. So, man, so many great.
Well, somebody that I actually always like, people ask me, some of the folks, I'm a television host, a radio on-air personality, and a journalist, and I've done all these different things in the industry like you have. And people have asked me, who are some of the folks that inspired me? And a lot of these smooth broadcast hosts, great voices, great personalities, charismatic, quick wit, fun. They can have a good, deep conversation about anything, sort of jack of all trades kind of thing. And somebody that was exactly like that, he could host everything and anything, and he basically did. Had his production company, mentored. He's the real, I would say, secret sauce for the success of Ryan Seacrest, because he sort of took him under his wing and really launched him. And of course, Ryan Seacrest, like me, we both admired this fantastic individual. You had an opportunity to know Dick Clark.
Spent 6 months working with him, training him. And then we just would, kind of hang out and talk as well. Yeah. Nice guy.
He did everything. He hosted everything. American Bandstand, $100,000 Pyramid, TV's bloopers, just everything. And he had that personality. I think he was 250 when he passed, but he never looked it. That's the key.
Yeah, I mean,
what a real great guy.
Somewhere there's a picture of him in an attic that was aging, right? If anyone remembers Dorian Gray, I told him, I said, when your time comes, I just want your hair.
You just want to, when the time comes.
You liked it. Yeah. But just a real nice guy. And what's really funny is that several times when I was working on Circus or on other shows where I was going to be working with celebrities, there's almost always someone who says, oh, watch out, that person's really, awful to work with or whatever. And I had people say that, oh, Dick is so difficult, you're not going to blah, blah, blah. As I said, I spent 6 months with him at his office and at CBS backstage. He'd come backstage in between shows on Pyramid, and we would work on this routine that taught him for Circus. And sometimes at the office, sometimes there. And as I said, we'd also just chit chat. He was the nicest guy. And yeah, I actually, because of that, after the show was done, I had a bronze plaque made that I gave him for his work on Circus of the Stars. And the ironic part is the thing that we worked on never got to air.
Really? Never made it to air, huh?
Well, what wound up happening, and I wish I could find the actual newspaper. What happened was the producers of Circus of the Stars at the time, one of their photographers also worked with the National Enquirer. And a few weeks before, a little more than a few weeks, before the show was going to air, National Enquirer ran a picture of Dick Clark getting the payoff of the magic trick where he got a pie in the face. This thing that was floating around, and all of a sudden it changed into a pie and shoots a pie into his face. And so it tipped off the gag. So Circus said, can't use it. So 6 months of work. But Circus of the Stars also would shoot, they'd get in the can about 3 hours of material for a 2-hour special and then edit stuff. So,
which is good to be able to get that in there. Absolutely. I just want to show some more fabulous people you had an opportunity to interact with. Look at this group.
Yeah, there's Hank Garrett, Chuck McCann, Larry Storch, and my dear friend Warren Berlinger, who we just lost, who was also one of Hank's absolute best friends.
A lot of people
And
remember Larry Storch from F Troop. Yeah.
That was at Larry's birthday party.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And Chuck we just lost not that long ago too.
Chuck we lost we lost him about 4 years ago, I think?
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at this.
There's the love of my life. Can I real fast? Can I tell our story?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So.
Sorry, we've run out of time.
I'll be in the car if you need me. Real fast. She is my ex-fiance from 1985 who panicked and ran 3 weeks before the wedding. We were not in touch for over 33 years. In the beginning of 2017, she happened to look me up on Facebook, of course, and saw that I just posted thanking all my friends for seeing me through a devastating 4-year-long divorce. She messaged me and said, I know we were never going to speak, but I just want to let you know it's me. I saw what you had said. I've been through it myself. So sorry for you. If you ever want to talk about it, I'm a good ear. And it took me a little while, but eventually I broke down and I messaged back. We started communicating. She came out to visit some friends in California and we saw each other. Short time later, she moved back to California and we started dating. We were together 5 years and got married a year ago, March, on 3/23/23, which is not the reason why. The reason why was March 23rd of 1985 was supposed to be our original wedding date. And she's always referred to it as our non-anniversary. And I said, I hate that. She said, okay, then let's make it our anniversary. So March 23rd, just over a year ago, I married the love of my life.
Life is but a circle, right? Life is but a circle.
And everything we didn't have in common years before we do now. Yeah.
You're both more settled. You're both, you've lived life.
We're both crazy.
You're both crazy. You both want straitjackets. Right.
Exactly. I got to tell you, I had no idea that I'd married my comedy writer. We sit in the morning and at breakfast before she takes off for work and such. We have a little banter, go back and forth and stuff. And I'll say something. She'll say something. I'll say something funny. And 9 out of 10 times she tops it. As a matter of fact, the other day I said something funny. She topped it. She looks at me. She's laughing, and I'm kind of like, And she said, "Thanks for the setup." And I said, "Well, and till it was the setup, it was my punchline. And we just go back and forth, and it's just, she writes some funny stuff.
That's fantastic. Kim Ross says you're crazier than she is. She's watching. She's now at Lovity. She's now at Jim Masters Show Lovity. We love that. Welcome, Kim.
I love
Isn't that cool? That is quite a story, because 1985 was, at least 10 minutes ago. So for that to happen, it was extraordinary. Ronald Reagan was the president, just a whole other time. And here you are. That's a beautiful story. Thanks for sharing that. We've got some more. Look at this.
There's Warren Berlinger. Yeah.
Such
a nice man.
Yeah, these are great photos we've got. And oh my God, Rip Taylor.
I gave Rip that. Rip
like
for the longest
Gong
time.
Show.
Huh? The Gong Show.
He was on the Gong Show too, yeah.
Rip for the longest time had been wanting me to give him this prop that I know.
Lean a little to the left so we can still see you. There you
Hello. Rip for the longest time had wanted me to give him this prop. And he was doing his one-man show, and I came down and surprised him and brought along the world's largest Q-tip, which I built for a show I was doing, a corporate show. And then I said, there's only one person that should have it. He said, yeah, I want it.
I want it. Simple as that. I want it, right?
And I think he used it as at the time, Prince Charles Q-tip.
Now, of course, every once in a while, when you're not feeling well or you need some, you need some tips on health and wellness, who do you go to? You go to the doctor.
That's one of my acting shots. Yeah.
And that's not Dr. Vinny Boombots.
Nope, not Dr. Vinny Boombots. I got to tell you,
I got no respect. So this is like a corporate work, industrial work, commercial work?
This actually is a commercial photo shot, but
you look like a physician.
Yeah. I would go out on a lot of auditions for doctors, lawyers, no Indian chiefs.
What kind of doctor were you to be in this?
This was actually just a photo session.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'm available. But it's also something that there have been times when something like this, it's a commercial shot, you also will show to, if I'm doing a corporate show,
right? Quite
often, I've actually come in for a lot of corporate shows as what we call the faux speaker, where unbeknownst to the audience at this sales meeting or convention or whatever, I'm introduced as a speaker. They usually create some title for me and such. And I come in as a legitimate speaker, they think. And I either wind up being drunk or have such a bad cold that I really shouldn't be here. And as I'm talking, all the notes go flying and, whatever. And eventually we give them a payoff. There was one that we did years ago where I was talking about the competition to their business, and I got so insane. It got so frazzled finally that two guys came out, put me in a straitjacket, and took me off stage. So you never know what we're going to do.
There is a theme here. That is funny.
Well, part of that came from my father was a talent manager before I was born, and then became an ad man, had his own advertising and marketing firm in Beverly Hills. And so I learned a lot about marketing and promotion, and I'm better at it for others than I am for myself, of course. That's normal. But yes, I love doing that. I love doing that for companies. I love being a marketing tool as a performer.
Here's another cool shot we dug up. Look at this.
Yep, that was
Christopher Hewitt, right?
Mr. Hewitt,
Mr. Belvedere. People remember him from ABC's Mr. Belvedere too.
Mr. Belvedere, yes, and also what was it? He was he took over.
There you are.
Hello, he took over on Fantasy Island.
That's right.
When Hervé Villechaize left.
The plane.
Yes, that. Yes, boss. Tattoo.
Ricardo
kind of-
Montalban.
Which
Yes.
kind of M&Ms do you like? The plain, boss. The plain.
Right. That's a great shot. That really
Yep,
is.
that was Christopher. I still have the prop.
Do you really?
That was one year when I was not on camera. A lot of times I was on camera standing next to the performer on circus, basically going, "No, not yet. Don't do it yet."
No, not yet. Cool
Standing in a
reaction
tuxedo.
here to what comes out of the hat.
Yeah.
You
So
never know.
you never know. You never know.
You never know. And this is great. All the different celebrities I mentioned. There's Phyllis Diller. Phyllis Diller. I tell you,
She's a
like
love.
Dangerfield. God, there's a clip on YouTube with her, and she's standing. It's a stand-up routine in front of some audience at a club or something, and just bump, 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 bump. You can't recover from the first 5 one-liners because she's just going, just hitting you. And it's kind of like, you don't really see that today. Stories now are much more elongated. People are talking about their childhood or their life or what it was like when they ate bundt cake or something. The one-liner, the zinger, boom, 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 and you're just like, Toady Fields, another one who we lost too early. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Brilliant.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll tell you about Phyllis. Phyllis's opening act for many years was a magician named Mercer Helms, who was also a friend of mine. He actually married Phyllis's daughter for a while, but he got along better with Phyllis than with the daughter. So, but when Circus of the Stars came to me and said, "We'd like you to put together some stuff for Phyllis Diller to show her tomorrow." What? Yeah, can you have an entire act for Phyllis Diller in 24 hours? Okay. So we designed something and pulled an all-nighter. I had a costumer sewing up some stuff and getting everything ready. And went out to Phyllis's home, met the producers out in front, and then knocked on the door. They said, "Phyllis, this is our magician, Kerry Ross." And she looked at me and said, "Do you know Mercer?" I said, "Yes, I do. We're good friends." She said, "Then you can come in." And that started a friendship that we kept up for many years, up until her passing, actually. And as a matter of fact, I'd go to the home once in a while to her place. And there was actually a pencil art piece of Mercer that she had done, and she gave it to me. I have it packed away, actually, for safety, but she signed it and gave it to me. But I've been writing a book. It's been taking quite some time because I'd actually stopped it with my divorce for a while, and now my wife wants me to get back to it. But in the book, it has several celebrity quotes. And I asked Phyllis, I said, "There's one of your lines that I'd particularly like to use heading up one of the chapters." And she said, "Oh, hon, I'm retired. You can use any of them now." And the line it's on a section in this book about senior citizens. And the line of hers, credited to her, that's in the book, is, "The best contraceptive for old people is nudity." Good line. She said her thing was, and one of my mentors I talked about, the one who said that I was his tour mentor, used to write for Phyllis back in his New York days. And he talked about the fact that anything had to be a fast line. She didn't want it to have too much of a setup. She wanted to get to it and get on to the next thing.
Where you couldn't breathe in between them. Right. It just really, and Dangerfield was kind of like that too, where it's just boom and boom and boom. And you don't really see a lot of that today. And I love that kind of humor, that just one after the other. And Rickles was like that too. It was just
Henny
Youngman, take my wife, please. Right. Exactly. Yeah, really, really cool stuff. When you think about the body of work and the amount of people that you've had an opportunity to work with, and just what you've done as a comedian and magician and actor, it's quite exciting. I know that you want to, and I've been teasing it throughout the whole evening, do a little something special for our lovely viewers watching all around the world, sir. What would you like to do?
Okay, if I must. I'd love to. Now, we have not set anything up, correct?
Nothing,
Okay,
right? We just
okay.
met. Exactly. No, there's nothing
Right.
set
Okay, I
up.
want to make this clear because to everyone watching, because it's all about this.
But are
There's
you
not
going to do the one with the 3 fingers or the 4? No.
how many finger am I holding? No, I'm not going to do that. Okay. Do something with I got 4 cards in here. All right. I'm going to get back to these in just a moment. I'll leave them right here so they're in view the whole time. Okay. There we go. Yes. All right. Now, Jim, we all know what most of us know what 4 of a kind is with cards. 4 of a kind, for anyone who doesn't know, would be like the same value, all 4 suits, like the 4 queens: Queen of Hearts, Queen of Diamonds, Queen of Clubs, Queen of Spades. That would be 4 of a kind, right? Okay, let's go with this. So, Jim, if I had the 2 red queens in my right hand, the 2 black queens in my left hand, which would you take? Would you take the 2 red queens or the 2 black queens?
Red.
You take the 2 red queens. Okay, so we've gotten rid of the 2 black queens. Of those 2 red queens, which would you eliminate along with those 2 black queens? Would you eliminate the Queen of Hearts or eliminate the Queen of Diamonds?
Diamonds.
You would eliminate the Queen of Diamonds. Now, let me explain something. The idea here, usually when a magician does what we call magic of the mind, mentalism, mind reading, whatever you want to call it, is for the magician to try and interpret your thoughts, your actions. I wanted to do something a little different. I wanted to see if you could interpret my thoughts, my actions, which were actually done before we even came on to do the podcast today with these 4 cards. I reversed one of the 4 cards in here. Get rid of that. You eliminated the Queen of Clubs, the Queen of Spades, and the Queen of
Diamonds.
Diamonds. You eliminated.
Well, I just told them come back later.
That would leave the Queen of Hearts. The card I had reversed was the Queen of Hearts. Now, by the way, to make it just perfectly clear, look at this. It's even a different colored back. And you know something? I was so sure, Jim, now we didn't set anything up. I was so sure that I'd find the right person who would think the way that I'm thinking, that this evening I didn't even bother to bring along the other 3 queens.
That's incredible. That is incredible.
So that's a little more the serious magic than the silly stuff that I do in my stage show.
People are like, look at them. They're like, no way. Oh my God. Yeah, that's amazing. Truly.
It's a lot of practice.
Do a lot of people do? What's the average of those who would go with hearts over diamonds? I think for me, I would go with the hearts only because I'm sort of like a heart-centric kind of guy.
You know, what's funny is quite often people say clubs.
They'll say clubs, really.
So you never know. Yeah, you never know. It's a very interesting situation.
That is cool. That is really, really cool. When did you start to incorporate the card part of what you do?
Oh my gosh. Well, most people start when they get into magic, start with card magic. I was more interested as a kid in stage magic, and it probably wasn't until I was college age that I really started doing any close-up magic at all.
Did you have a magic? When I was a kid, I had a magic set, and I absolutely loved it. And Christmas Day, I would set it all up and do the stuff from the set that we got again from the Sears Wish book, and do whatever they had, the little things, and do the whole routine in front of everybody. And absolutely enjoyed it. I think we need to go back to that. Kids need to have access to those kinds of tactile experiences.
Well, also kids need time to play.
We need to go from TikTok to tactile.
Yes. But kids need time to play. And I think that's something that's been lost. Kids don't have a chance to be creative and imaginative anymore. And
They want an encore, and they said you should be on Broadway.
oh,
Jim True
thank you.
Frost and Leo is watching, and yeah, wow.
Very nice, thank you. Yeah, but it's where was I going with this? The close-up magic has become so popular now with TV. That's what I was going to say, is that it's become so popular that almost stage performing, other than like in Las Vegas, with Chris Angel and so many
Chris
others,
Angel's
is
fantastic.
a lost art.
Yeah.
The days of Siegfried and Roy were incredible with that kind of magic.
David Copperfield and
my dear friend Lance Burton, my gosh, he still goes out. He's no longer in Vegas, but he still goes out once in a while. He's retired technically, but he still goes out and does shows, big performing arts center shows, and he's wonderful. You were talking about having magic kits. I never had a magic kit, but when I was a little kid, I'd come running home from school just in time, like a lot of New Yorkers would come running home to try and watch Chuck McCann with his puppets and all that he did in New York. Well, in California, in Los Angeles area, there was a young magician named Chuck Jones who had a show called Chuck Jones, the Magic Man. And he had Felix the Cat cartoons and a live audience of kids. And he had to come up with new magic every day. And so we'd come running home from school to watch Chuck Jones, the Magic Man. And that's who I wound up watching. A lot of people would watch Mark Wilson, of course, on CBS with his show at that time, Magical Land of Alakazam, around that same period. But Chuck Jones was a local show in LA. Well, I never really got into magic at that time. I watched it. But when I was a teenage magician, 18, 19 years old, I met Chuck at one of our Magic Club meetings, and he went on to actually hire me to help build his magic. And then he hired me to tour Canada with him doing my act in a big production show. I've hired him for corporate shows. And Chuck and his wife, Jan, are two of my dearest friends and have been now for many, many years.
Wow.
It's
amazing.
And he went on to go from he was 19 years old when he had that show on Channel 13. He went on to become a big international illusionist with all the big, Siegfried and Roy kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, sure. Is that 13 in Los Angeles?
Channel 13 in Los Angeles.
There was an announcer that I don't know, he's probably, I don't know if he's retired or not with us anymore, but I remember when we go out to LA, I would always try to watch the TV stations, listen to the radio stations because I'm a TV radio guy. Right. So I'd love to listen to the announcers with the Voice of God voices do the call letters. And I remember there was a guy, I forget his name, but he would do the ID, station identification at the top of the hour for Channel 13. This is Channel 13, KCOP, Los Angeles.
Oh my gosh, I remember that. I have
Do you remember that?
Who that was.
Yeah, Los Angeles.
I'll ask Chuck if he remembers.
I used to love that. I remember him in Los Angeles with Channel 13, KCOP TV, Los Angeles. And there was another guy who was also, they would double as not only the announcer, but sometimes they'd be the sports reporter. They would be the kids show host. Back then, when you were starting out at TV stations, those announcer voices did a lot of other things behind the scenes. There was another guy, I forget his name, but he was in Philadelphia, and it was Channel 17, WPHL TV. And I would love to hear him announce the call letters and the station, because he would say, "This is Channel 17, WPHL TV, Philadelphia." He would just take that, Philadelphia.
Well, it's like, wasn't it Ernie Anderson, who
one of the great voices
promos for ABC, and you always go, "On the Love Boat."
Right. The Winds of War tonight on ABC. And then he would do the local eyewitness news. The ABC affiliates would have him do eyewitness news.
Yep.
I know. Yeah. You know who? either he brought Tim Conway out to Hollywood or Tim Conway brought him out from Cleveland. They all came from Channel 5 in Cleveland. And he played this crazy character in Cleveland, Ernie Anderson, and then he became the voice. He was also the announcer on the Carol Burnett show, too,
Yes.
for a period
And he
of
was
time.
a frequent audience member as well. If you ever saw when she would have him stand up and take a
One
look
of the
out.
great voices. Absolutely. Yeah, you can hear all that on probably YouTube as well.
Oh, my gosh. What a fantastic voice.
All those voices. Yeah, all those voices. What do you love about doing all this? Obviously, this is something you've committed yourself to for a long time.
I should have been committed a long time ago. Yes.
Well, you had the straitjacket for it. So, I mean, you know, you were all set up. It's
there
like,
what did you go? One button, you can push that thing up over and over?
We're very quick here. Hey, we're on the East Coast. Just quick, you know?
That's funny.
But you know what? This is just speaks volumes. It speaks volumes. And you're leaning the same way right now. Can you do the same look with your eyes and your mouth? There's then and now. What has changed? What are you working on a book? What have you not?
I should give you the title.
Yeah.
And it's with a purpose. How to avoid your second childhood by not outgrowing your first.
Absolutely.
It's on keeping the child spark in you.
I love that. We talk about that here on the show, and I talk about that even off air. I keep saying, you know, we're nothing more than children in adult clothing. That's basically it. And that's the way to keep it, right? You got to just keep smiling and look at the positive, because life is short, as we know, and precious, and anything can happen. And
you know, that's one of the things about magic. So many people who do magic, it keeps that kid spark in them. You know, once we learn the magic, we lose that sense of wonder ourselves, but we have fun creating it for someone else. And I still love going and watching someone perform in Vegas or Magic Castle or wherever, and I'm going, wow, how did they, oh my gosh, that's incredible. I love that.
Yeah. What have you not done that you would still like to do after all these decades of doing comedy and magic and acting? You want to write the book? What else would you like to do, or just expand on what you've done already?
Well, I stopped doing cruise ships.
Sorry, we've run out of time again. No.
No, I stopped doing cruise ships a long time ago, and I kind of said, I'd love to go back and do 1 or 2 cruises a year, just to, because those were fun, and I'd love to take my bride and do that, because the audiences could be, if they like what you do, they like what you do, and if they don't like what you do, boy, you're in a goldfish bowl for a week or 2.
Are you saying the cruise ships no longer float your boat?
It's Then there's Rodney Dangerfield's line. I wrote a book. Should a man buy a yacht if his girlfriend laughs at his dinghy? Okay, so where was I?
Where was I?
Getting back to,
getting back to. Those are all. He just gave you 2 to 3 transitional lines, folks. As I was saying, getting back to, where was I?
But I want to tell you.
Then again.
Yeah. So anyways, I love doing corporate work and so forth. One thing I never had the chance to do, other than in college, was doing a major play. I'd love to have the opportunity to spend some time in a live theatrical production using my
Broadway,
acting chops and comedy chops. Yeah.
Broadway, something that has always been of interest to, if something came along Broadway or off Broadway.
Yeah. I go see, I've seen a lot of it here in LA, the Pantages Theater through the years.
Pantages, the Pasadena Playhouse.
Pasadena Playhouse,
which is
our
another
music
great
center.
one. Yeah.
I actually saw Angela Lansbury in Sweeney Todd at the Music Center. I was sitting third row, center seat, and I had no idea that she was a theatrical sprayer until all of a sudden it was all going onto my glasses and down my shirt.
A theatrical sprayer.
Pwah! Pwah! I'm fun! Yeah.
You had to wear a net. It's like
Just
wear a hat and bring an umbrella when
bring an umbrella.
see
It's the
those.
splash zone.
Then again, like I said, being a part of this iconic series, just what did you learn from working on Circus of the Stars on CBS all those years?
I think I learned a lot from the various stars that I worked with. Their humility. I learned a lot about the real them. I also learned a lot from the production team. There were first couple of years, I was thought of as just the technical advisor, for the show. Wasn't really thought of as being more so the creative consultant until second year, third year. I was, we were very specific on where the camera needed to be for the magic. And the director said, Kerry, would you come over? He said, cameraman, lock down the camera, lock down your shot. Kerry, would you come over and look through the lens and tell us if we've got it right? That all of a sudden made me feel like they understood the importance of what I did. Now, there were some other magicians I knew that were involved with Circus of the Stars through the years, some very good things as well. A couple years where I was doing one thing and they were doing another, or something that they had that was proprietary that they had to use them, and that's fine. But there was one thing that, how do I say this without tipping off something? They didn't have a theatrical, they didn't have the technical advisor actually there for this one scene when the star was doing the magic thing. And something that should not have been seen was seen on camera because there was no technical advisor there watching to say.
Before you tell us, we do have a graphic for that. It's a JMS exclusive. Now tell us.
So, just saying, this is why you want to have the theatrical experience, the technical advisor watching the shot to make sure. It's the same thing as when I'm emceeing a show. I know MCs that'll MC a show, they'll introduce the act, and then they'll walk off and have a conversation somewhere. No, I'm one of these guys. When I'm emceeing a review show or something, I'm standing alongside watching and listening, because if something happens, I've got to be ready to jump in or react. And that's important. And that just comes from...
And those are some of the best moments for the person that has to be thrust out to smooth out something that went wrong, chaos that's happening, somebody didn't show up, lines, have been forgotten, sets fell apart, whatever's going on. When, as you know, and I've had those opportunities on the air and on stage too, and that's why I can relate to this. Those are some of my favorite moments, are when just please, Jim or Kerry, just go out there and do something, say something, please, whether it's on TV, radio, or on stage. Just please, everything's on fire. It's a meltdown. The computers are smoking. We can't do anything else. We're live. Get out there and just do something. Some of my favorite times in broadcasting on television, radio, and stage work have been when things didn't always go perfectly, and I was thrust out there to make something happen.
And the Rolodex works.
All cylinders
I'm using no
firing.
Term, but the Rolodex works. All of a
You're
sudden,
just like,
ding.
all of a sudden, you're just on fire and you're just rolling with it. And it's such a challenge, and the adrenaline's going. Now, I know some people would hate that, because I've had conversations with people like that. I've been snowed in at radio stations during blizzards where we've had to be on the air 24 hours straight with news bulletins and weather bulletins and just ad lib to get people through things too. But there's been times when, I remember on PBS and I was on and we were actually doing a pledge drive for a show. It was a British comedy series and I was on with the co-host who happened to be the national programming director. It was something. And all of a sudden he's my co-host and I see him running out of the studio. I'm like, he's running out of the studio and it's just me with the cameras, and camera operators, and we're in the studio and we're live. And all of a sudden he disappears and he doesn't seem to be coming back. So I have an IFB, which is a little thing where you hear the director giving you cues. Okay, go to break or do this or do that. And the IFB's in there and they're just like, the producer, she's panicking. She's like, Jim, just stretch, just keep going. Larry isn't coming back into the studio. They pulled him out because he has to figure out what's going on in master control, which is a disaster because they ran some sort of a special where they realized they had a certain amount of time on the log for the special to run. And they realized it came up short because they played part 2 before playing part 1. So 50% in, the credits already started rolling, but they had all this other time that wasn't allotted for because they ran the wrong tape. They ran part 2 before part 1. So it went to black and they had nothing else to go to at the studio. So I just had to keep going and going and going. And the technical director, she was grabbing every PBS thank you gift, every tote bag, every mug, every DVD, everything that was tied to that series, that Britcom series we were doing or showing. And I'm talking, and all of a sudden I would put my hand out and I would feel her dumping something else in my hand. And I would go, and we also have this. And I wouldn't know what that was until I looked at it. Well, this is amazing. You'll want this. This is part of the collection. And then all of a sudden my hand would go down. That would be ripped out of my hand. And it was where you couldn't see it on TV because it was below camera view. And all of a sudden something else went into my hand. And this is available too for a $25 pledge of support to PBS. And all of a sudden it's like, and it's this, and it was, and people would say to me, even the crew afterwards, like, you must have been aggravated, frustrated. You must have been scared. I loved every second of it. It demanded everything from me because the station had nowhere to turn, nothing else to put on. They had all this time that was blank. They couldn't go back to another program because it wasn't programmed into their computer system. The co-host was pulled out of the studio to try to figure it all out because he was the program director for the studio. And I went on. This was like an hour of just ad lib until they figured it all out, until they figured out what they were going to do next. I think I had to keep talking to get us to the top of the hour because another program was scheduled to air. It was fantastic.
This though is when all the years of paying your dues pays off because all that comes together. It's all sitting in the brain somewhere. I will tell you that is so much more enjoyable. I should leave you with this. As so much more enjoyable than when you go to meet a cruise ship as a performer and you get there and your props don't. I joke about the fact I've been to almost as many places as my luggage. And in this case, it was absolutely true. Can I tell it real fast and then we'll wind up?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
We've been on longer than planned. My gosh. I went to meet a cruise ship in Le Havre, France, which I believe it's LEH, I think is the airport designation. The airline was nice enough to send my entire act to LHE, Lahore, Pakistan. 2 days before the India-Pakistan nuclear conflict.
A little bit of a drier climate.
Yeah. So the only thing that showed up was my guillotine. So I am now known, and some of my clothes.
An American sending a guillotine to Pakistan?
France. No, the guillotine went with me to France.
Oh, it went with you?
You know, perfect. So, but now I have no other, all my other props are gone. So, so now the cruise ship is trying to figure out where the stuff is because we didn't know. So I am now known on board the ship as the magician without an act, because the cruise director thought it'd be hilarious to explain to the audience, we're going to have a magician on tonight, but his props haven't shown up yet. We don't know where they are. So instead we have this singer and blah, blah, blah. So he rescheduled acts through the whole cruise. So what I was doing, and each night they were trying to figure out where my stuff was. So every port we're going to, I'm going in buying cards and rope and notepads and everything I can to put an act together. I knew I had the guillotine to finish with at least. But everything else, my straitjacket, everything else is all gone. So, and every night he gives a report before whatever act he introduces, and it gets funnier and funnier through the week. And of course, I'm walking around on deck, and they're saying, "Are you the magician without an act?" You know. So finally, a couple nights before the end of the cruise, they find out that my stuff is sitting in Pakistan. So the audience is now in hysterics. So the comic on board, who knows me, says, "How much time have you got?" I said, "Well, I got about 35 minutes," and they want ideally 45 minutes. So he says, "Okay, how about I go out and I open? I'll do 10 minutes for you, warm them up, get them ready for you." Okay, great. So he goes out, builds them up nicely. I come walking out on stage. Everyone's wondering what this guy's going to do. I come walking on stage. The first thing that comes out of me is, it all started last December when a little boy in Pakistan said, "Daddy, all I want for Christmas is a magic kit." They laughed hysterically. I did a great job, had a fun show, got a standing ovation, and never got booked back on that cruise.
So you had to prop yourself up since the props didn't arrive.
That was it.
And you got a few props.
And then finally, like a couple months later, everything came back all damaged, pilfered, and yeah.
Damage, I can understand. Pilfered, that's problematic.
Yep. So
that's incredible, huh?
It ain't all glamour.
No, it is not all glamour. No, it is not all glamour. But you love it, right? You love it.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
If you weren't doing this, what is plan B? What was plan B?
Well, believe it or not, in school, I thought I was going to be a printer. I was worked in a print shop after school, all that, while I was studying my magic and so forth.
Counterfeit or otherwise?
We'll talk about that off camera.
We got a lot to talk about off air, folks.
So,
it'll be in the book.
But no, I mean, I always loved this side of it. If I hadn't done this, something, I probably would have wanted to be one of the entertainment producers at perhaps Disneyland. Disney's like, I'm a huge Disney nut.
Sure.
But, well, my gosh, little Mickeys and Minnies here.
Show us that top.
Oh yeah, those are Mickeys and Minnies.
That's incredible. You are definitely fit to be tied.
Yeah. Oh.
I went from ho, ho, ho to
pinned it.
oh.
You pinned it.
I pinned it. It's better than nailing it in this case. I just want to let people know, before you slide out, exit stage left, that you got your SAG card, which of course is Screen Actors Guild, and now it's Screen Actors Guild AFTRA, the American Federation of Radio and Television Artists. For anybody that didn't know what AFTRA meant, you had to you didn't have to eat crow. You did not have to eat your words. You had to go a step further and eat fire.
Yes. Very quickly, I had just done my first year on Circus of the Stars, and one of the other tech advisors on the show, the one who handled all the aerial artists, teaching them all that stuff, called me and said, you want to get your SAG card, right? I said, yeah, I was already after him, but I wasn't SAG yet. He said, I'm doing the booking for a circus episode of a TV show. And he said, what can you do? What can you do for me? I said, well, I juggle. He said, no, I've already got 3 jugglers. I said, okay, well, I can hang upside down in a straitjacket from the, center ring or whatever. He says, no, they won't take the time on the rigging. I said, well, I can come out and do a big illusion or something. No, they're not going to want to take the time with setting up the magic props and stuff. He said, can you eat fire? I said, sure. So I said, okay, report on the set tomorrow morning. So I hung up. I got in my car. I went to the magic shop on Hollywood Boulevard. I bought 3 torches and a book on how to eat fire. I stayed up all night long burning myself. All night long, little burns on the lips. Reported at 5 o'clock in the morning the next day on the set, a place that used to be in LA called Devonshire Downs. And I was working the Magic Castle at night that week. So the deal was I had to be out in time to get to the castle to do 3 shows a night at the castle. So I sat around for 3 days on location. I never had to eat fire. I think it was one of the last things that, if you remember William Asher, the director.
Oh, yeah, who was married to Elizabeth Montgomery at one time. And he worked on I Love Lucy, Bewitched, all of it.
He was the director on this. The show was not particularly a good show. And I spent 3 days on location. Never got around to the fire eating, other than the fact it was freezing cold out there. And so I was pretending to be practicing. And meanwhile, I was just trying to keep warm with the torches. And finally, Asher says, he sees me horsing around with the jugglers between takes. And he says, do you juggle? You do? He's getting this shot. So he throws me in doing that. So I wind up juggling for a couple of seconds. I'm being paid beaucoup bucks for this thing, sitting around for 3 days. Never had to eat fire. Juggled for a couple seconds. The show was so bad. We were in episode number 5. We were in episode number 5. They only shot 7 of them, and only the first 3 were shown in the U.S. The show was so bad. And then, so I never got to see it. And then about a year later, I get like a $30 check for it. It aired in like Guam or something. And then, since then, I got one more residual check a couple years ago. It aired apparently on some CBS affiliate somewhere. I got a 13-cent check.
That's amazing.
Residuals have changed. So, but then I learned how to eat fire. You never say no.
Never say no.
Sure. Whatever.
Now, tell me about the guy that invented the clapboard.
Leon was his real name. His father was a very famous vaudeville magician by the name of the Great Leon. Leon, I knew. He was in his 80s and 90s when I knew him. Passed away a long time ago. And he started in films as a gag man in silent movies. And then as soon as sound came in, he was an early sound man and went on to have a career as a sound man. As a matter of fact, he's the one who invented the fishpole mic boom. He invented the sound man's ladder. And best known, he invented the clapboard. As a matter of fact, I'm the one that wrote it up on IMDb about him. He finally got honored by the industry, but nobody knew for years. And it was an accident. They came up with this thing where they had to be able to sync the sound. So he had 2 sticks. First, it was just hands, and that didn't always work. So they had 2 little blocks of wood, and they would clap together. But then you'd have to put those down and hold up the slate. All right. And so then one day he just said to some stagehand, do me a favor, just nail those 2 onto there. Oh, no, the first thing was he said, put a hinge on those 2 little blocks. So he put a hinge on the 2 blocks, but he still had to put it under his arm and grab the slate. Then he said, just nail the clappers onto the slate, will you? And that's how the first clapboard happened. And before he passed, he signed one to me. I've got one of those somewhere.
Hey, really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Incredible.
Met some fun people. And he was a real character. He was a magician.
That's incredible, really. When you think about all the people that you've had an opportunity to meet, and you mentioned the corporate shows, and you even train corporate executives to do the magic too, right?
Oh yes, done a lot of that.
You
Yeah,
enjoy doing that? Because that's a whole other part. People can hire you, bring you in to do that kind of work, right? That's a whole
basically
other.
what I did for the Circus of Stars and other shows, where I would teach the celebrities to do something for on camera. Same thing. I would uh, teach the corporate executives for their sales meetings or award shows, and did a lot of those. Did a ton of them for Mattel, where I came in and we designed all sorts of illusions or all sorts of fun things for the executives to do. We even, I mean, we would have the secretary saw her boss in half instead, turn the tables, fun stuff like that. Interesting though, there were a lot of times I realized something. I had to actually teach some of these executives how to take a bow. They didn't even understand how to take a bow
They didn't, huh?
because they weren't from this world that we're in.
No, right.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It really is. Sometimes I ask the guests what are some of the blessings and joys they have in their life that sort of inspire them and fill their cup to be able to do what they do. And what you do doesn't come easy. And it's a lot of talent, creativity, a lot of tenacity, patience, blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of time, a lot of sacrifice put in. What are some of those? I think one has been commenting, Kim, of course. And what are some of those blessings and joys in your life that keep you wanting to entertain and make the rest of us think and smile and laugh?
Oh, being able to share the laughter is really important to me. Like I said, being able to help create the laughter. Um, I I love the idea of just letting people have a good time without putting limits on it. And that's one that goes back to what we were talking about before with political correctness, where people are almost afraid to laugh at something. And you shouldn't be. If it's from within you, go ahead and laugh. You know, you're having fun, you're releasing, and it's good, it's healthy. And I love doing the sleight of hand that I do as well, because it's a wonder for people. You're standing this close to someone and you're doing something with cards or what you saw me do. You're this close to them and they're like, wow, this is amazing. And it's not a matter of feeling like I'm superior to you. No, 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 no. I can do something you can't. It's a matter of being able to share an experience with someone and helping them have that experience. And just like any type of theater, it's also the illusion of the first time, which means that every time you're performing that, you need to create the experience for them as it's the first time it's happened.
That's right. It is like it's the first time, exactly. And this was your first time on the Jim Masters Show, live entertainment lifestyle celebrity talk show series, my friend, but definitely will not be the last. Really a wonderful conversation with lots of humor. And you actually performed live. It wasn't scripted. We knew nothing about the Queen of Hearts. That was all as it was happening. Really a wonderful conversation. I think people, by having this conversation versus typical interview, free flowing, people got a real deeper understanding of who you are, what makes you tick, your background, what drives you, and how you have this real thirst and passion to want to connect with people and inspire them and make them laugh and make them think, make them be as curious as you were as a kid and still are. And connect in the ways that you can through comedy and magic and all these wonderful things that were introduced into our lives when we're kids, comedy and magic and things like that. And we're able to enjoy, throughout our lives too. So really an amazing conversation, my friend. And I really thank you for being with us. We had a nice chat here, and we're going to keep the porch light on for you. I say that to all the guests. We keep the porch light on for all the guests. You are welcome back anytime, Kerry, and spread the word about our show. And I really hope you enjoyed the time with me as much as I absolutely have with you.
I've had a blast. May I finish with just one thing real fast? When I was about 25 years old, I was already traveling the world. I had TV shows the TV specials and commercials and all this going on. My grandmother hadn't seen a bunch of this stuff. So I put together a compilation tape and I took it over with a VHS machine to my grandmother's house, my nice Jewish grandmother. So I take it over, I sit there and let her watch this compilation of all this TV stuff that her grandson has done. At the end of the thing, I said, "So Nana, what do you think of your grandson now?" A typical Jewish grandmother, and she meant every word of this. "Yeah, it's not too late to become a doctor or a lawyer." Thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you all for watching as well.
Jewish grandmother. Then why did I intro you as Lithuanian?
Actually, yeah, part Lithuanian. Yeah.
I was going to say, we're all brothers and sisters. Truly, I hope you enjoyed the time with me as much as I have with you, my friend. It was really a wonderful conversation, and I hope you enjoyed it.
And this is actually my first podcast ever, so thank you all very much for putting up with me.
The pleasure is all mine. And, when you get a chance to have conversations like this, you never know where it goes and you never know what direction it's, going to take. And this was just really something that, we put together, and we've been working on it, Kerry and I, to have a date where he wasn't on stage and I wasn't doing something in a TV studio. Jim True Frost and family and Leo want me to tell you the management joke. It's actually a comment my father, how sometimes you get, like you mentioned your grandmother, you get this sage advice from family and others in your life early on when you are a kid. And if you are paying attention, you absorb it and you take it with you through your life. So this viewership who is with us all the time, and maybe new viewers hearing it for the first time, my father, when I was 7 years old, said to me, "Jim," or Jimmy, I'm like the fifth James, so Jimmy, "always remember when somebody says something kind or nice to you, always make sure you thank them for doing that, for saying those words. Thank them. Make sure you thank them. It's very important to thank them. Then ask them to take those kind words, put them in writing, and address it management."
Love it. Well, I thank you.
Absolutely, my friend. And we thank our mutual dear friend, Chris Corman, son of Harvey Corman. We love him. He's one of the great guys. He's a sweetheart of a guy, and we appreciate him as well. Kerry, you're welcome back anytime. If you know other folks you think would like to pop on the show for any length of a chat, they're welcome here. Spread the word for us, and we really appreciate it. And continued success with everything. Come back and see us again, okay?
Thank you so much.
You be well, my friend. You're welcome. Comedian, magician, actor extraordinaire, stopping by the Jim Masters show. Was that not cool? Was that not fun? Just taking a look at a lot of comments that are still pouring into our lovely hall here. We really appreciate the one and only Kerry Ross sharing his comedy, his magic right here. Comedian, magician, actor extraordinaire. And of course, his website, kerryross.com, to learn more about tour dates, events, things that are happening, how you can book him for an event and things of that nature. Really a cool guy, nice guy, and experienced. He's been doing this work for decades. He started out, really early on, and he has stuck with it. We're so happy to sprinkle some comedy and magic in your life, as Kerry has been on this episode of the Jim Masters Show. Did you have a good time? Let us know. Don't keep it a secret. Leave a comment for us in the comments section of our YouTube channel, which is basically underneath this episode. We would love that. Give this episode a like, a thumbs up like. There's a thumbs up button. It looks like a thumb. Click the up button. Click the up button. The one that says like. Share this episode. You can share the YouTube link on your social media. And leave a comment for us in the comment section, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. That's where we house the hundreds and hundreds of episodes for your enjoyment, your viewing pleasure, and all the rest. All these great celebrity friends and guests who come by and stop by JMS. And for all of you who have subscribed and are liking, commenting, and sharing, which really, truly does help us grow, we say thank you, thank you, thank you. And all those watching for the very first time, we welcome you to the Jim Masters Show as well. It's always a pleasure to have you here. All right, we have lots of great guests coming up, lots of fabulous people coming up in the subsequent episodes of JMS. So make sure you come and see us again. And yes, I agree. Welcome Kim Ross, and of course, our very special guest, Kerry, as part of the Jim Master Show Lovely family. You are very welcome, Kim. And everybody, thank you for watching, all the great comments. We love you all. Don't forget, as we always say, take care of one another, love one another, and do not forget to take care of yourself. And love yourself. It's very important to do that. For all of us here, I'm your host, Jim Masters, thanking you for your time this time. Till next time. Come by and see us again on the next episode. Binge watch all the hundreds of episodes we have on the YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, for your enjoyment. Go check out some of your favorites again. If you ever missed anything or you joined us late, everything's archived there for you. And come see us again right here on, like it says there, the Jim Masters Show. Be well, everybody. Take care, and thanks for joining us. What a great show this was. Lots of humor, lots of good moments for all of you. We thank Kerry, and we thank you. Be well. See you next time. Cheers.